Hey, welcome back to the Through These Doors podcast. My name is Parker Sanye, and this time I'm not your secretary, I'm your president. It's great to be back. It's been a while since we recorded an episode. I'm here today with
Jackson Sylvester. I'm currently serving as the National FFA Secretary, and I'm from the state of Delaware. You know, growing up, while we always had quick access to the beach, it was something that I never really truly enjoyed. I always felt like I was more at home when my feet were grounded, beneath the dirt. And really, my connection to agriculture was found in the dairy industry. My dad owned a small dairy farm and sold out early 2000s, actually. And so for me, I always grew up showing dairy cattle, never on a production farm. That's really where I've always found my connection to agriculture. And I've always been one of those people that just found their place in a cornfield, in a cow pasture, but also really just doing that alongside friends and family. And that's truly what I do love about ag. It brings you so close to those individuals.
I would have to say that's probably the greatest part of ag is like not only do you get this firsthand experience in the dairy industry, like you said, or any of these other ag businesses, you get close to the people inside that too, and you gain friends and like relationships, bonds. So it gives you an edge to the future and your career, things like that.
Yeah.
So you're a national officer.
Yes, sir.
You've been around. You've seen some things. What do you notice between the chapters, between the states that's like different, or anything you want to talk about?
Yeah, it's really unique, honestly. And that wasn't something that I truly expected at first. I expected, kind of states that are surrounding one another to be very similar, and that just simply isn't the case. This year I've traveled to about 23 different states since about February, and it's been an absolute blast having a chance to travel the country. And I've gone around saying this in a particular way where it's not exciting that I get to travel to different locations, but it's that I get to travel to different people within those locations. Every state that I've been to, every convention, every conference, every camp, every chapter, every school that I've had a chance to walk into and interact with, the people are so different, but all in their own great ways. When I was in Wisconsin, of course, they put so much emphasis on the dairy industry, and that's really what holds that together. But then in a week, I can fly to Louisiana and drive past a crawfish field, and I think that is just amazing. And every single group of people, every single person is so different in the way that they function, the way that they do things, but we all have one thing in common, and that is our love for agriculture, no matter what facet that may be found in, but also just continuing to grow ourselves, growing one another's, but also trying to do that all within ag education. That's a pretty sweet thing.
That's actually really cool to hear. Like, I'm from Louisiana, FFA Louisiana. I don't get out of the state in the FFA category, but I see what you're saying, how it seems like the states would be kind of connected with the industries and how they work. It's really cool to hear that they're all like unique, all the people are unique. I just got back from a trip, I was in a different state, and everybody was like, did you wrestle a gator? Like, well, how's that kind of thing?
Yeah.
It's really cool to hear that from your perspective as well, where you travel, you talk to all these people in ag, and you really get that firsthand experience. It's cool.
Yeah, and it was honestly pretty mind-blowing for the first time traveling outside of Delaware. We are a very, heavily ag state. But we're much smaller scale than what I always had recognized. It wasn't until I went and actually visited one of my teammates' home farms to realize that agriculture is a lot larger scale across the country. But what we do have that is really special is being on the shore. We do have a lot of fresh seafood, which plays into a market. We do a lot of oysters, a lot of blue crabs in my area. And so while we may not be tilling tens of thousands of acres around home, we definitely play our own unique role in the agriculture industries.
Yeah, it's really cool to get to finally understand how big the ag industry is outside of a state, or how big it is in your own state. You think my state does dairy, like you said, or you realize these things, but then you see the big picture, just how much there is to do and how much of an impact it makes.
Exactly, that's probably been one of the biggest eye-opening experiences so far this year is realizing that, ag isn't just one thing.
Yeah.
It isn't just one way. It isn't just one way of doing things with one family on one farm, but rather every single group of people, every family, every state, every region of our country does things a little bit differently. And they do that in such a way because their setting is entirely different. Every state requires different needs and the way that we produce and function across these industries in agriculture. But what I also didn't recognize was just how diverse ag is. And that was really mind-blowing. When I think of agriculture, like most, I immediately think of, riding in a John Deere tractor, being on a dairy farm, running beef cows, things like that. But it never crossed my mind ever think about that, the crawfish industry is just as big a part of agriculture as anything. So when we talk about ag, and when I can confidently now travel the country and talk to FFA members and say, there truly is a spot for everybody.
Yeah.
And I see that now. I see that, no matter what our interest is, no matter what that looks like, mine may be cows, but yours may be crawfish or sharks or something like that. And we all do truly have a spot in the industry. And it's just a matter of identifying what that really unique spot is that we belong in and running with it.
Yeah, so that's actually really cool. I love talking to people about this kind of thing. It's fun to hear how other people perceive the ag industry and what it means to them. So to you, what does ag mean to you?
For me, agriculture is beyond, what we initially think of. For me, agriculture truly is that family piece.
Yeah.
I truly believe that whether that is within our own families of individuals that share the same last name and the same blood, or it's just a family of passionate people about continuing to feed, fuel, and clothe the world. And I think that's something that connects all of us.
Yeah.
Now, I've got a really close friend that actually lives up in New Jersey who's at a dairy convention in South Dakota. While I may not be there and I'm sitting in Louisiana right now, there is a whole group of people from all across the country that truly are a family when it comes to the dairy industry. We love scratching each other's back. We love all working towards a common goal and putting all of our brains together to figure out how we can do that more efficiently, more effectively, but also do that in a way that provides the consumers a piece that they truly do want and truly desire.
That's awesome. That's great to hear. It's like you said, we're all one community under the same love for agriculture. So that's really cool. We're kind of running short on time a little bit because we're at leadership camp and they're about to do reflections. So kind of end it on a fun note. What do you like to do like outside of agriculture FFA?
And when I'm not in FFA, and it's pretty tough, honestly.
Yeah.
Anymore, I'm on the road for about 4 to 6 weeks, but I get to spend maybe a week at home throughout that time. But one thing that I truly do love, and it's hard to do in the summertime, that's go snowboarding. That's one thing me and my brother have truly picked up in the last few years. So whenever I'm home and it's the wintertime, there's no snow right now in June and in the Poconos of Pennsylvania, but we love going up, taking a 2-3 day long trip up there and just really enjoying, each other's company. Over the last few years, I've really started to enjoy the idea of shooting sporting clays competitively. After high school, I went immediately and started welding for a company, and we ended up going and traveling the East Coast and shooting competitive sporting clays. And that's been something that I've truly missed quite a bit, honestly, this year. And I can't wait to get my hands back on that and start traveling and shooting some clays again. Yeah.
That's cool, man. I don't know what else to say except your love for agriculture is very evident, and you also do things that you also love, like snowboarding. You said it's really cool to hear from a national officer. This is the first national officer interview I've done, like the California president, things like that. But to hear it from you directly, how big it is, because you've been there, is really cool, and it inspires me and so many others to continue their journey. So, you you're about to start talking.
No, I just wanted to thank you for having me on. This is really cool. And I tell you what, for all the viewers out there, this kid's got a really great, unique SAE program. And that's something that we heavily push at National FFA is let's develop these supervised agriculture experiences, processes, and programs for these students to really figure out what it is that they want to do. And this is by far one of the coolest ones that I've had a chance to interact with all year long. So I'm pretty excited. If you're going to watch in an early on episode, keep carrying it on because this guy's going to have like a talk show or something at some point in his life. So catch him on ABC. But I'm really impressed with his project, what he's doing, and his ability to continue to connect people from the agriculture industry all across the country. It's really impressive work.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here today. It's great having you.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man.